women, belly fat, especially hormonal belly fat, isn't a matter or question of if, it's when. It's one day, and sometimes it's overnight, that our hourglass figure starts looking more and more apple-shaped, and we are left questioning, what the happened? Back to belly fat, the good news is you have a lot you can do to reverse, combat, and even prevent hormonal belly fat. And that's what I want to break down today. We're going to be talking about the exact science and strategies to protect and reclaim your midsection, which all of us know is actually super important, not just for our self-esteem, but for overall health. All right, so let's dive in. May here, I am your functional medicine dietitian, helping you guys look and feel your very best by optimizing your metabolism, hormones, and health span. You've guessed, this channel is the right channel to subscribe to if you want the latest science and strategies behind looking and feeling your best. Download that free guide down below if you haven't already on how to boost your metabolism. It's a must-have. I think you all know this, but I need to cover this in a little bit more of a scientific manner. What is hormonal belly fat? It is belly fat that accumulates in the abdominal cavity, mostly due to hormonal changes. Now, it doesn't always have to show up around your 30s and 40s, but oftentimes it does. Now, the other definition of hormonal belly fat is that this belly fat also acts like an endocrine gland, releasing chemicals into the body, and these chemicals having effects, usually negative effects, all over. So basically it's acting like an endocrine gland, sending out hormone-like chemicals. So again, twofold definition of hormonal belly fat. Now, visceral fat and hormonal belly fat are essentially synonymous. It is the soft, squishy fat that's deep around the organs, deep in the cavity. Now, it's usually in the lower waist, and I would say the muffin tops and the love handles, even though it's in the general region and equally as disheartening, that's more subcutaneous fat. So we're talking about fat in this midsection here. Now, if your belly tends to be more round, taut, hard, like you swallowed an inflatable balloon and it kind of goes up and down depending on what you ate or the time of day, that type of belly is a little bit more related to gut inflammation, possibly gut issues and inflammation outside of just visceral fat. And you might have both. So how do you tell the difference? You can do an in-body scan, which is a body composition test to really understand if that belly fat is there. And also, if you do think you have gut issues, go check out my gut support video that I made. I'll link that down below. All right, let's just say you already know you have hormonal belly fat. You don't need a doctor or a scale to tell you that. All right, so what do we actually do to reclaim our midsection and get rid of that hormonal belly fat once and for all? I know I've talked about insulin resistance, I've talked about fasting, I've talked about exercise, I've talked about cold exposure, and even things like GLP-1 activators in my belly fat video. Go check that out if you haven't already. But today I want to talk about a bigger picture root cause of hormonal belly fat that needs to be addressed if you really are serious about reclaiming your midsection. This is something that we use in the medical community called metabolic syndrome. Belly fat, specifically around the organs, is a sign that the metabolism isn't healthy, and metabolic syndrome by definition is when blood sugars start moving in the wrong direction, waist circumference doesn't look normal, you've got BMI above regular levels, and also lipids start looking not so good. The thing about metabolic syndrome is that it is setting the stage for metabolic diseases like heart disease, cancer, diabetes, obesity. But what's interesting is in studies like this Iranian study that I'm showing you on the screen, that they're showing that premenopausal women compared to their postmenopausal selves are all on track to getting metabolic syndrome. So basically going into menopause is basically a setup for metabolic syndrome, and i.e. a setup for hormonal belly fat. That's why I say it's not if, it's when. And we do that by looking at what is the root cause of metabolic syndrome. You guys know I love being a detective. I always want you asking why and rolling it back to what came before this, right? So what causes metabolic syndrome in women and men in their 30s, 40s, 50s? It's related to mitochondrial dysfunction. All right, so back to high school biology. I know this is a little bit of a review for some of you, but remember your cell. There is cytoplasm, there's a nucleus, and there's little organelles floating around. One of those organelles is mitochondria. Turns out our cells have hundreds to thousands of mitochondria, depending on the type of cell. Cardiac cell, a brain cell, has way more mitochondria per cell than something like a skin cell, for example. Yes, the definition is they're the powerhouse of the cell. They make energy. This is still true, but it turns out mitochondria also are almost almost like generals. They command the cell to die. They tell the environment and the cell how healthy everyone is doing. So in a way, they are messengers. They're giving feedback to the entire system, and they are influencing metabolism on a much bigger scale than just making energy. So today I want to really address the root cause of hormonal belly fat by talking about mitochondria and 4 practical ways you can support your mitochondria so that you don't get metabolic syndrome as you age. Or you could even reverse the signs of metabolic syndrome by improving mitochondrial function. So the first practical way of supporting your mitochondria is by your diet. Of course, I'm the dietitian, I'm going to tell you that first. But what kind of diet is it? At the end of the day, it is the Mediterranean diet that has the most research supporting it. There's lots of definitions of the Mediterranean diet out there. Is it more wine? Is it more chocolate? Is it just eating less carbs? I have a great article that I want to link that gives you a food pyramid, and no, it's not the old school food pyramid. I talked about that in the carnivore video. Out with that. This is a Mediterranean diet food pyramid. So go check that out, print it out, wrap your mind around that. On top of that though, there is something called the cardiometabolic food plan and the mitochondrial food plan that we use as IFM certified practitioners, Institute of Functional Medicine. That's where I did all my functional medicine training. So these meal plans are available to patients in the clinic and private clients. We're not allowed to post them publicly for everyone to use because of copyright issues, but I can give you a really good resource if you want to dive into these meal plans. It's called Nourishing Meals. Many of my clients already use it and know about it. I use it when I'm doing meal planning for my patients who really want to get into the nitty-gritty of layering very specific diets on top of each other. Very practical. It's made by my friend and colleague, Alyssa Sergeson. I've done a podcast with her recently. Anyways, she has built these food plans into a recipe data bank that's searchable. And on top of that, you can schedule meal planning and print grocery lists and schedule different recipes for different days. It is a powerful tool for anyone that really wants ground level support on executing on any particular diet. I've used it for so many of my patients. There's already pre-made meal plans in there, by the way, which I'll scroll through for you to see, but you can search Mito food plans, cardiometabolic food plans. You can copy those ready-made meal plans and duplicate them and then put in all the changes you want. Let's say you don't eat eggplant, you could switch that recipe out for something else. So super versatile, super convenient, and again, very powerful on the level of execution if you really want to be able to do these meal plans at home to support your mitochondria. So Nourishing Meals, I'm going to link the affiliate code down below. It is $14 a month. You do need to enter in a credit card to do a 7-day free trial. But for $14 a month, getting access to her very well-written recipes is totally worth it. So give it a shot. I highly recommend. Now, the other thing, I have filmed 2 other videos on how to do breakfast and how to do lunch in this kind of fashion. And I'll link those down below if you really want more details on how I would advise you on eating day to day in a Mediterranean style. The second practical way of supporting your mitochondria so that you can fight hormonal belly fat is exercise. And I know there's an eye roll here because I've talked about exercise before. Everyone talks about exercise, but it's a novel type of exercise that I bet you might have not heard of before called exercise snacks. And I like to call them exercise desserts. I'm going to tell you why in just a second. So as a review, I talk about AMPK in my other belly fat video and how certain types of exercise activate AMPK, and these still all apply. So high intensity exercise, also like prolonged low intensity aerobic exercise. But exercise snacks by definition are a little bit different. Exercise snacks fall into 2 categories. One is vigorous exercise snacks and moderate exercise snacks. So vigorous is when you're doing kind of like high intensity, you're going into that 70 to 90% your maximum heart rate, or a perceived exertion level of like hard or very hard. You're doing this for a short amount of time, like maybe 1 minute max, 5 rounds. Now, moderate would be you're not getting your heart rate up that high, but you're going a little bit longer, like maybe a 10 to 15 minute stint. And again, these are loose definitions of what exercise snacks are, but they're different from traditional exercise because they're much shorter, and you would do them all throughout the day, maybe every 1 to 4 hours throughout the day. Studies have shown that exercise snacks can improve energy metabolism, which includes burning fat, aerobic capacity, and muscle strength. I know there's been a lot of people like Dr. Casey Means and also Rhonda Patrick who have talked about exercise snacks on social media, and it's really encouraging that more and more people are catching on to the idea of exercise not always having to be 30 to 60 minutes long, a good chunk of your day, and a huge commitment to try to fit into your schedule. All right, so you're convinced exercise snacks are good for you, but how do you actually execute on them on a daily, consistent fashion? And I want to get into some strategies here. In behavior modification, there's a principle we use called the PREMAC principle. What you do is you take a new behavior that's not very consistent, that doesn't usually happen without a lot of inertia, and you pair it with a very consistent habit that already is structured into your day. So the two end up going together. So an example of this is you definitely take meal breaks. You definitely take bathroom breaks. You definitely go pick up the kids. You definitely do laundry. You definitely get the mail. Things that you definitely do, you can attach an exercise snack to it. And that's why I like to call these exercise desserts instead, because desserts are always prompted by usually meals or tea. And there are those of you out there who have sweet tooths where nothing has to prompt you. You think of desserts all the time. Never mind about you guys. Most of you are my patients, by the way. So I'm not trying to judge you, just saying. In this example though, exercise desserts go with meal or they go with tea. So in that same principle, attach your exercise snack to something you already do that is more guaranteed. So every time you go do laundry, go do push-ups on the banister outside the laundry room. Every time you go pee, maybe you put a pull-up bar out there and you do some pull-ups before or after. I personally love to do the fitness court that is right across the street from my kids' school. I wear my weighted vest and I go and do the 7 stations with their app, or I do my own version for 7 minutes before I hit the car and jump back to my office to see my first patient. That's been really, really successful for me because I always do end up driving by that fitness court, parking right there to drop off my kids every day. Another example is I like to put a Bosu ball. I have one right here underneath my desk. Why is it there? It's so I can fidget while I'm sitting at my desk, but also I can do lunges on it like I'm doing now. Woohoo, woohoo. I can do some lunges, side lunges, back lunges. I can do some in between calls. And also I like to keep resistance bands in my office where I could do a few like hammer curls or crab walks in between calls. So these things can add up over time. And again, even a little snack can be helpful. One last idea is you could do like a little bit of Pilates, like a 7-minute Pilates workout or a little dance workout on YouTube. My favorite YouTubers in these 2 categories right now are Lily Sabri, sorry if I'm saying your name wrong, and also Jamie Kincaid. I'll link their YouTube channels down below. I think they're fantastic. And it's a great little break to kind of give you a pick-me-up, plus you're moving your body. Now, fitness courts, I'm gonna link down below too. There's like over 500 in the US, and they have a free app with free workouts. It's a no-brainer if you live by one. If you drive by one, you could stop on your way to the grocery store, on your way home. I don't know. Figure it out. Use the resources you have to build exercise desserts. Sounds cooler too anyway. Build exercise desserts into your day using the PREMAC principle where you marry it to something you already do. Can't wait to hear how you're using exercise snacks. Leave me a comment down below. I want to hear some new strategies that have worked for you. The third practical way to support your mitochondria so you can get rid of that hormonal belly fat is to reduce ROS, reactive oxygen species. I know half of you thought about ROS, like the place you shop at. Yeah, a little less shopping might help too, but never mind. It's not that kind of ROS. I hope you guys like lame jokes, because there you go, there's another one. Okay, so I have some good strategies here. Of course, polyphenols are a great way to lower ROS in your life, and I have a great polyphenols handout. Just email me or DM me if you want that. I can send you the link. I'll link it down below too. But a few novel ways of reducing ROS that you may not know about or maybe haven't heard about are the following. One is hydrogen water. Now, it's not alkaline water, it's not oxygenated water, it's not ozone water. It literally is H2, hydrogen the molecule, inserted into water. There's a few ways you can do this. I used to do tablets. They taste a little funny. You have to always drink the whole bottle, and with my ADHD, a lot of times I would throw in the tablet and forget to drink it, or only drink it halfway and get distracted and do something else. So the tablets haven't been so helpful for me and in terms of consistency. And I do have a lot of my patients kind of not like the taste or the aftertaste and stop doing it altogether. So recently I've been looking more into hydrogen water machines, and in fact my birthday's coming up and I think that's going to be on my wish list, is getting myself a hydrogen water pitcher for my office so I can set it up next to my tea station and drink hydrogen water all day long. Definitely check that out. I'll link my affiliate link down below for my favorite company right now called Echo. So hydrogenate and hydrate all day long. Find a way to get hydrogen water into your life. There is so much research behind hydrogen water that I don't have time for in this episode, but I'm going to link down below hydrogenstudies.org or .com, I can't remember, but there's tons of research on hydrogen water. It is definitely something we use at the clinic, especially for people with certain genomic propensities for making a lot of reactive oxygen species. The next way to lower reactive oxygen species is having more glutathione in your life. And a lot of you have heard from my other videos that I really like topical glutathione. I love glutarol. It's wonderful to kind of put on. It's great for skin in general. I interviewed the founder, Dr. Nayan Patel. I'll link that interview landing page down below. But also you can look at getting food sources of glutathione. It's not as, I would say, like aggressive, but still really cool. So this handout is a glutathione handout that I made for a lot of my private clients. You can email me at hello@maytomrd.com or DM me on Instagram and I'll send you this handout. So the fourth and final practical way of combating hormonal belly fat and reclaiming your midsection by improving mitochondria function is to improve mitochondrial respiration through two methods that I absolutely love. Number one is methylene blue. Number two is red to near infrared light. Now, I linked a really cool study below that talks about both of these from a neurodegeneration or neuroprotection standpoint. And you might say, well, what does that study have to do with hormonal belly fat? So if you're starting to think like me, like a detective, and connecting all the dots, remember we're talking about mitochondria and metabolic syndrome. Why would these two things be linked together? Now, the brain is a metabolic organ. It consumes 20% of the body's energy. Belly fat is a sign of metabolic dysfunction. Neurodegeneration is a sign of metabolic dysfunction. That's why they call Alzheimer's diabetes type 3, right? This is crazy. If you could get rid of hormonal belly fat, you're actually doing your brain a favor, because the root cause of brain issues and belly fat are connected by mitochondria. I know, right? That's how important this topic is. Back to methylene blue, it is the dye that you dye your jeans with. Sounds kind of crazy, but low dose methylene blue actually acts as an electron donor, donating electrons to the electron transport chain, which is the final step in mitochondria to make energy. I personally have had a great experience using methylene blue. It's a little bit of a pick-me-up for me all day long for my brain and for my body, and I just use the non-prescription version. At the clinic, we actually prescribe methylene blue based on your body weight, and you do need a doctor to oversee that, but Transcriptions makes a methylene blue that's a very low dose and again available over the counter, so I'll link that down below. In the red light to near infrared light world, we are actually seeing that red light is a way to donate photons to the electron transport chain and again improve mitochondrial function. Now, my favorite red light device, a lot of you know this, is the Flex Beam. I learned about the Flex Beam by doing my anti-aging summit a few years ago. Thank you, Natalie Nidham, for introducing me to the company. I've interviewed the founder twice and she is amazing. She's an acupuncturist and a doctor. She was in a car accident, broke her spine in 3 places and was in extreme amount of pain, and discovered the use of red light to heal and regenerate her nervous system. It's fascinating. So the company that she is part of is called Recharge, and their product is called Flex Beam. It is my favorite red light device of all time. I have recommended it for pretty much every single one of my family members actually has a Flex Beam. Now that I think of it, my nanny has one, all her friends have one, and it's not because it's a fad, it's because it really does work for a lot of us. So if you have anyone who has mitochondrial issues or even pain issues, insomnia issues, injuries all the time, a lot of pro athletes are using these devices as well. So I like to put it on my belly. I like to put it in between my shoulders to activate the parasympathetic system. I like to put it on the spine where the nervous system is. And even for women who have started to transition into menopause and their ovaries need a little bit of support, I even have people put it straight on their ovaries. So again, a wonderful device with multiple usages, but the literature really does support the use of near infrared and red light to support mitochondria. So why not put it on your belly to help support your belly fat journey too? All right, so am I telling you to flex beam your belly fat? Yes. Is it because it's gonna burn it off? No. But is it going to activate mitochondria in that area? Yes, definitely. So don't be afraid to use a flex beam on your belly region, along with other parts of your body for that overall mitochondrial support. So there you go. I have given it all away again. I love doing that. I hope one or two of these things are something that you really make a decision to do, try, and be consistent with. And let me know down below how this changed your life. Now, if this really resonated with you, give it a thumbs up, because I have a few more videos in my back pocket about belly fat that I really am thinking about doing, because one video just isn't enough. So if you want me to make that, comment down below, and we'll see you next time.